Hey, my Liptons. So, I wanted to do another video on another Amir Khan movie because I did say that I was going to do another Amir Khan film. And I already discussed Gachini on my channel. So, you guys, please go check that out. Go check out Gachini, my Gachini review, and, and go give it a like and tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. So, I watched Talaash again, right? Because I said in my Gachini review that Amir Khan, one thing I like about Amir Khan is that he picks movies and roles that have messages or talk about issues in society that should be addressed or that should be debated on. So I wanted to talk about that. Um, I watched Talash before, so my mom is actually the one that introduced me to Talash, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a look at it. I'm gonna see what it's giving. And I really like the film. I really, really do. I enjoy the film. It has some hidden messages in there. It talks about, it's kind of somewhat, I don't want to say so like political, but like unfortunately with topics like that, they do consider it to be political, either in Western society, Eastern society, that sort of thing. So basically, just to give you guys like the rundown about what the Lash is about. Hold on, let me give you guys like an overview of it. Um, So it says here, Inspector Surjan Singh, who is played by Amir Khan, investigates a popular film star's death before he can solve the complicated case. He has to face the suppressed grief and deal with Rosie, a sex worker and murderer. Okay, so that's like the premise about what the film is about. And as you guys can see here, um, Karina Kapoor, who's also one of the Bollywood actresses, and she's an OG. She's the one that plays the prostitute, as you guys can see here. And Rani's character is Ahmed's wife in the movie, right? So it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. This movie's a lot. It has to deal with murder, mystery, drama, uh, sex work, prostitution, that sort of thing, and how society looks at sex workers or prostitution. So Ahmed obviously is a cop in the film, so he has to solve like what happened to like the. And honestly, I don't want to talk too much about the other male actors in the film, like uh, the famous actor that passed away and his friends and how they all got into this whole mess because I feel like you know some men are trash. So so like, but shout out to them. They definitely killed their roles. They definitely did what they had to do in the movie. But it's like I just want to focus on Karina, Ahmed, and Rani's performance in the film. So here's the thing. Karina, her character, so she's a prostitute and she actually passed away, right? So she passed away so when the film is on, it's actually 3 years after she passed away. So basically she's coming, only Amir Khan's character can see Karina Kapoor's character, basically. And here's the thing, I will say this. I'm not too much of a big fan when it comes to like the supernatural vibe thing, because I feel like there's levels to it, and I feel like sometimes, especially if we're talking about like Indian or Bollywood or that sort of thing, sometimes they can go overboard with the supernatural stuff, with the ghost and the oh my god, is something is possessing me. But I will say though, for Talash, I felt like they did it well. Like it was believable to me. I believe that it was a believable uh supernatural thing that they had going on. They made it seem as if only Amir can see it, or only Amir can see the ghost, and like basically everybody is just looking at Amir like he's crazy because they just think that he's just talking to himself, when it's like in fact no, he like only he can see her. So she's basically trying to lead him into like finding her killers, making sure that they're prosecuted. And listen, she's also about getting her lick back. Okay, she wants payback. She said like just like that. She said, "Listen, I want my payback. The men that killed me, the men that didn't care about me, who just buried me, who just threw me away like as if I'm a piece of garbage after what they did to me. Nah, I want my lick back, and we have no other choice but to stand. We stand for that. So, but yeah, so that's what she did. She was basically leading Ahmed to like the people who basically left her out to die, basically, and which she did die, and also the movie also talks about uh Ahmed and Rani's marriage in the movie. Their son passed away, he drowned, and like they still haven't dealt with that grief, and their marriage has taken a hit due to that, and also dealing with the supernatural sense as far as like getting a fortune teller to do so. Well, the mom is getting a fortune teller to talk to her son in the afterlife, whatever. It's the whole thing. You guys have to watch the movie in order to get it. I will say though, this movie is on Netflix, y'all. It's on Netflix, so if you guys want to go watch it, go watch it. They have the English subtitles. You can watch it there so that you can follow up with what we're talking about. Um, oh, sorry, girl. Yes. Uh, but I will say this though, because there are some quotes that I have here that I felt like they were very, very they stood out to me, and it definitely talks a lot about how our society treats women in a either in sex work or not a quote unquote lifestyle that we agree with. And there is an article that I have here that I want to read to you guys, and it's from the ACLU. I want to get into it because I feel like this is a very, very serious topic, and we should discuss it. And I think that we should definitely take it into consideration because it's something that affects so many people's lives that we don't even realize it. But I'm gonna read that later. So, but I'm a transition into that. So basically, with Karina's character, sorry, let me take this out of the way. Karina's character, she passes away. She passes away 3 years ago since when the film started, right? But yet nobody investigated her death. Nothing has happened. Like the people who killed her didn't, obviously report it, but like the I guess the prostitution place where she was working at also didn't report that she was missing. And her name is Simran in the film. Her name is Simran. And Simran brought up a good point that I want to talk about. It's because when she came to Suri, that's Amir's character, when she came to him and she told him that, hey, and she gave him a fake name. She said that her name was Rosie, and not Simran. She was like, Simran died 3 years ago, and nobody has looked for her. Nobody cares, that sort of thing. So then Ahmed's character, Suri, was like, okay, well, why didn't you make a police report about it? And she basically laughed. She was like, first of all, we're talking about a prostitute going missing, a sex worker going missing. Like you do know that um you do know that prostitution is illegal in the country that we're in, and that and she said this quote, and I love this quote. She said that, and she's talking about prostitution and sex workers. She said, because it is illegal, we don't exist officially, and the non-existent don't go missing. That's why these cases don't get picked up or solved or even are investigated. And I think that brought up a good point because honestly, this film really, really made me do some self-reflection. It made me do some self-reflection, and it made me think about my own views, especially when it comes to sex work and prostitution. Well, they're both the same, but it depends. And that's what brings me to this article right here. And I feel like it's a discussion that should be had. It's a discussion that should be had. So it says here, it's time to decriminalize sex work, right? So I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read half of this. I'm not gonna read the whole thing because I don't want to take up too much time. So it says here, the criminalization of sex work makes sex workers more vulnerable to violence on the job and less likely to report violence. It prevents sex workers from accessing healthcare and critical services, feeds an out of control mass incarceration system, and further marginalizes some of society's most vulnerable groups, such as trans women, of color, and immigrants. Sex workers deserve the same legal protections as anyone else. They should be able to maintain their livelihood without fear of violence or arrest, access healthcare and other services without discrimination, and seek justice when they are harmed. Decriminalization will help bring sex workers out of dangerous margins and into the light where people are protected and not targeted by law. For key findings on, okay, yada yada. So what does the decriminalization mean? Decriminalization refers to removal of criminal penalties for the buying and selling of sex acts, especially for characterized as prostitution. Decriminalization is not the same as legalization. The legalization removes criminal penalties for certain incidents of buying and selling sex acts. Okay, yada yada. Here's the thing. Personally, um, for me personally, I feel like sex work should be decriminalized because it's like, obviously if you're talking to me like 5 years ago about sex work and this sort of thing, I would have been like, no, why would anybody want to become a sex worker or a prostitute or that sort of thing? But as time goes on, and I also saw this documentary on Netflix, you guys should go watch it. I think it's called The Times Square Killer. I believe that's what the name is. I have to go back and look at it. Like, this serial killer was able to run rampant in Times Square, just killing a bunch of sex workers, killing a bunch of prostitutes. And the police were, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you think about the society, the culture at that time, they didn't look at, you being a prostitute in a favorably light. They're like, oh, if you didn't wanna, if you didn't want this to happen, why are you a prostitute? Why are you selling your body? Maybe if you weren't a prostitute, this wouldn't have happened. But it's just like, I feel like that's a very inhumane thing to talk about or think about, because at the end of the day, while you might think that it's wrong or whatever how anybody feels, that's still a human being at the end of the day. And I feel like we have dehumanized sex workers. Okay, we've really really dehumanized sex workers. We've dehumanized people who prostitute. And listen, not all people who go into prostitution is done because of, oh my god, they were forced in it, or they were this, or they were that. Like, in this movie Talaash, maybe there are some sex workers who maybe voluntarily went into prostitution as just a job to make some money. Okay, some people genuinely look at these things as jobs. It's not. Don't get me wrong. Am I saying that there aren't situations where, some women, they're forced into it or they get sold into it? Yes, and I feel like if there's ever a situation like that, like, we should, crack down. It should be regulated, right? It should be regulated. It should be cracked down, and we should be able to question those who may feel like, were you coerced into this? Were you forced into it? What's the tea? But I also feel like once we do that, once we, really break down our own biases and stereotypes of what we think uh, prostitution or sex work is, I think that we can have more conversations as to how to help these people, how to give them more resources when it comes to healthcare, that sort of thing. Also, to report to the police when they're being, you know what I'm saying, just being abused or that sort of thing. Because that's why, unfortunately, especially, I don't know about now, I have to do my research about now, but like in the past, a lot of these killers and these people were able to get away with it because it's like, if the prostitutes were to go to the cops or go to the criminal justice system, they will either get judged or jailed for even doing that, because it's like, first of all, prostitution is illegal. So it's like, why are you on the streets doing that? Well, I'm gonna lock you up since you came and talking about some, oh yeah, you were raped, you were doing this, you were doing that. Well, you're a prostitute, and that's also illegal too. So I feel like we really, really need to look at the way we see these certain things in our society. And it's not, and obviously, like I said before, it's all over. Like, right, like I think still here in the US, prostitution is still illegal. I believe I have to go do my research, but I think most likely it probably is. In other countries as well outside of the West, it's most likely it's also illegal. So I just think that, with this, with a film like this, honestly, I think that it definitely opens our eyes to certain things, and to also have conversations within ourselves, or to ask people as to how we view sex work, how we see prostitution, because I feel like we really need to have a more humane stance on how we like judge them or view them, because it's like, at the end of the day, these are still human beings, and I feel like we need to be able to have a more humane stance when it comes to the kind of work that these so whether men, women, whoever do, because not it's not all the time where it's a situation where it's forced, or it's like, oh my god, they were coerced in it or they were sold into it. No, there are situations where it's like people go into it willingly, and they consider it to be a job, and they consider it to make money out of it. And I feel like, in a way, we also need to be able to kind of respect that. You know, we might not like it, but listen, there's a lot of things a lot of people don't like about us and what we do, and there's certain things I don't. But we need to either respect it. We might not like it, but we need to respect it. It is what it is. But I would say with Talaash, it really, really it opened my eyes. Before, in the past, like I said, I was not for that. I was like, why would we want, legalize prostitution? Prostitution is prostitution, like, because we were all programmed to think that it's wrong, it's bad, it's that, it's this and that. But it's like, I feel like when we do stuff like that, and when crime or like illegal stuff happens to them, to people who work in sex work, we end up being like, oh well, you should have never been this, you shouldn't have been that, that dehumanizes them, right? It dehumanizes them, and it prevents them from actually going to the police when they're someone who is, most likely like a serial killer going around killing a bunch of people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we need to have more compassion for how we view this kind of stuff. And I do recommend you guys to watch Talaash on Netflix. I think it's a great film. Like I said, with Amir Khan, one thing I like about him, he's very, very consistent of just putting these different messages in his films, picking these roles to really, have people have conversations and be like, hey, like, you know, wow, quote unquote, like this might not be something that you're comfortable with or whatever, but it's also just, we need to have a more humane stance on it, so that situations like what happened to this girl, what happened to critical pro, and listen, there's people in real life, in real life, that this has happened so many times in real life, when it comes to Kareem Kapoor's character, when it comes to just her, being left for dead. It's happened to so many people within that world, that whereas like the justice system just forgets about them, doesn't care, doesn't investigate, because they feel like, oh well, she's a slut, she's a this, she's a that, she's a hooker, so who cares about her? And that's very dehumanizing, because at the end of the day, she's still a human being. Whatever job she does, it is what, like, we need to, at the end of the day, she's still a person, a citizen within her country. So it's like, she should have also had the same justice as anybody, like a housewife, as a like, for anybody, it doesn't matter what profession, doesn't matter her standing, her class, her race. Anybody should get the same justice as anybody else who ever goes through a kind of situation like that. So, but shout out to Ahmed Khan. Yeah, like I said, I like Ahmed Khan. Like, even though I might not be a stand for Ahmed, but Ahmed, I respect him, and I think that he's gonna go down as one of the best actors of all time, because he really, really picks roles that I feel like a lot of people might not want to, because they feel like it's too sensitive and too something that society wouldn't take well, but I think that it brings up a great conversation, and it tells us to really revamp our thinking when it comes to things like this, because lives are being lost, y'all. Lives are being lost, and like I said, with this quote really stuck out to me when Kareena Kapoor's character said, "We don't exist officially, okay? The non-existent don't go missing." Right. So, and I think that that's something that we really need to think about. But yeah, for my Bollywood girls and guys, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Did you guys watch Talaash? What do you guys think about it? Do you guys agree with my stance as far as when it comes to decriminalizing sex work, or at least try to do your guys' own research, maybe think about it, have conversations, and see how you guys feel. And please like, comment, and subscribe. The channel's growing every single day. Shout out to y'all. Thank you guys so much for watching.